Welcome, everyone, to CoachFocused. That is the official name as of right now. Jeff, help me out with that. I've got Jeff Carter with me, and he is a branding expert for coaches. And we met, I think, in a Facebook group when I was talking about kind of my brand and finding the logo and the feel of who is Brighton West. But so I'm just going to start out and we'll talk lots. We will open it up to questions at any point in time. I am going to lock that seat, but if you want that seat, feel free to comment in there. But maybe we can just start out with Jeff introducing himself and his company. So go ahead, Jeff.
Absolutely. Hey, Brighton. Thanks for having me today. I'm excited to be here. Hey, guys, I am Jeff Carter. I am a personal brand coach and strategist. And what I do in my everyday business is I help coaches learn how to successfully design, develop, and launch their coaching brands on the web. So, a lot of coaches, they're lost when it comes to branding and marketing. And my personal background is in branding and marketing. I spent 15 years working for agencies and advertising agencies, marketing agencies on the account side. So I brought that knowledge and that experience to now help coaches on a personal level to develop, brand, and launch their businesses. So it's a very fulfilling business. I love it, and I love that personal kind of one-to-one attention that I'm able to give a lot of coaches. And I work with all kinds of coaches. So, and Brighton, I know you do as well. So whether it's health coaches, life coaches, food coaches, basically anyone that offers a one-to-one type of service to their clients, that's who my clients are as well. So I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to be talking video because I know it's huge these days, especially for coaches. It's a big opportunity. So I'm excited to chat.
Great. I'm excited about video, and I love working with coaches, and I love just kind of saying why video is so great. Is coaches do work that they've got that one-on-one. They need that know, like, and trust with their potential clients. Yeah. It's not like your accountant where you need the trust factor, but you don't really care.
Definitely need the trust factor if you're an accountant, for sure. But
exactly, but you don't necessarily need to be liked. You could be the meanest accountant as long as you're good.
You're right. Exactly.
But with coaches, people want, if they're a button-up kind of guy, they want to be a button-up coach. If they're kind of more of a, woo-woo or something, they want that too. That's easy to get across online. And I think that's all part of someone's brand. Right. But so let's jump in, and maybe you could define what brand is, because it is, there's kind of our advertising, and there's marketing, and there's branding, and they all kind of fit inside, a box. But what is the difference?
Yeah, exactly. And you're right. I mean, and that's why branding is confusing, because there's so many different pieces of that puzzle. Like you said, they do go together, but they're all separate pieces, and you need to put them together in the right order. So let's talk. You mentioned brand. I like to talk first about personal branding, because that starts from, the person inside, and personal branding is an inside out process. So you have to start with understanding yourself first, understanding your personality, your values, your mission, in life, both on a personal level and a professional level. You need to understand that internally first before you can then start working on that outward brand. So really, personal branding is just basically, your authentic self. And it's understanding who you are, who you serve, and the value you provide. So obviously, those are really important things that you need to know, and you need to have clarity on those, because if you don't, you start really shooting in the dark when it comes to, all right, now I want to develop a logo for my brand. And if you don't have a clear understanding of who you are, and also your audience and who you're serving and the objective behind your business, you're going to be lost when it comes to developing a logo. You're going to be, taking a stab in the dark. So branding and personal brand, especially, it starts from the inside, and then it grows from there. Does that help? And really, when I approach branding and personal branding, I always try to simplify something, because out of my 15 years of marketing branding experience, it gets confusing. And I know that, even for me, and I'm experienced in this area. So I know when I work with coaches who, a lot of coaches come from a completely different background. Maybe they went to nutrition school, or maybe they're a psychiatrist or a psychologist that is now a relationship coach or something. A lot of these coaches have no idea where to start when it comes to branding. So I try to simplify everything as much as I can so that, it's understandable, and I break it into little chunks and step-by-step process to really help the branding process as you move forward through it.
Yeah, it's interesting. I like how you combine, or not combine, but talk about personal branding and business branding together, because especially for coaches, they really are kind of one thing. Because people are attracted to coaches because of their authentic personality. So they don't want to be attracted to someone. It's not like you're branding Nike or something like that, where the people who work there might live lives completely different than the brand.
Correct.
Actually, Nike's here in Portland. I think a lot of those people live exactly like that brand.
Well, sure. But that's the strength of a great brand, is they have a great culture like that, and people believe in it, and they live that brand, which is great. That's what all companies and all bigger brands want. They want their employees to carry that flag, even when they're not at work on the weekends and wherever they are. So yeah, that's huge when you're a business and you can have your employees carry that branding flag for you.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't have employees, but the other one that came to mind was REI. As another probably brand that their employees live that brand. Yep. And that when you go in there, you feel that when you're talking to one of their employees. This isn't just someone who's got a job. I have a feeling McDonald's doesn't have people living their brand. Right? Hopefully they don't have people living their brand. They're going to be very unhealthy.
Exactly. Right.
But I mean, McDonald's probably, maybe we could play a little bit with McDonald's. Like, what is the McDonald's brand? Because we've all seen their advertising and their marketing and whatnot. So maybe you could take a company like that and break it apart and say, you as a branding expert, what do you feel like McDonald's is trying to have as a brand? Because I'm guessing it's not greasy food, but yeah, maybe.
Well, it's interesting. I think when you're a corporation, especially the size of McDonald's, things change, and just like personal branding changes. I mean, just because you've defined your personal brand in one way, say today, that's not to say a year from now or even 6 months from now, maybe something may change in your life. Maybe you may have a traumatic experience where all of a sudden your values change, and that all of a sudden changes your personal brand. Maybe you acted in a certain way, or you projected yourself in a certain way. And just like anything, we evolve, and our personal brands evolve as well. Politicians change their minds, they're notorious for that. And it's okay if you change your mind as well, because as a personal brand, you are going to evolve. It's just natural. Now, you don't want to evolve, one day you're this and the next day you're that, where it's complete opposites. But evolution and changing who you are and your personality, it's going to happen. So talking about McDonald's, sure. I'm not sure where their brand started, what they wanted to project, but at some point it became, fun. They were trying to bring fun into the McDonald's experience. I think McDonald's probably knows their food is not very healthy, or at least it wasn't at one point. So I think they made a conscious effort to say, hey, let's focus on the fun aspect. Let's put playhouses in here, and let's do, toys for kids and things like that. And maybe let's detract from really the nutritional, content of our food, and let's focus on other areas. I think nowadays, with everyone being more focused on healthy things and, no preservatives in their foods and things like that, you've seen McDonald's slowly evolve. And I think they've been pretty slow to evolve, but they are evolving in that. So they're developing healthier things. I think I saw the other day at McDonald's, I think in California, they're doing like kale breakfast bowls or something like that. So, it sounded pretty good to me, like egg whites and kale and stuff like that. And I mean, 5 years ago, that would be unheard of for hearing somebody like McDonald's promoting, through media and advertising, a kale, breakfast entree or something like that. So yeah, even big brands have to evolve, especially because they're the individuals and the clients and the consumers that go to these companies, corporations, they change as well. So these companies need to adjust if they want to stay in business. If McDonald's decided, no, we're not, our brand is not about healthy food, it's about cheap, greasy food, and we're going to stick with it. Well, they probably wouldn't be lasting, too long. So they have to evolve just like personal brands and larger corporate brands do.
Yeah, it's interesting because, Mark Mawhinney would say you develop a very narrow niche, and that's something, McDonald's definitely has a niche, but it's much wider. It's, I don't necessarily fit into their ideal customer avatar. It's interesting that they're going after that kale eating person from California. I would think that'd be a stretch for anyone to find their kale at McDonald's. But
you guys don't eat kale up in Portland?
Oh, we definitely eat kale. We just don't eat McDonald's. So
I got you. Okay.
There's a little bit of a disconnect there between the brand that they've built over time and the brand that they want to become. And also there's a difference, clearly, maybe in the Midwest. You're down in San Diego, is that right?
San Diego.
Yep.
Right. Yeah.
So I see John Karpinski here. I know he's from the Midwest. That McDonald's is probably not serving kale salads up there. And that probably that, good deal value, lots of food, fast is probably a value that works better in that market. And so that's actually kind of an interesting thing, because a big company like McDonald's, who's trying to capture such a huge portion of the market, has to have, they have many ideal customers. And Ron, my coach, and I were talking about this, about ideal customers, and how when you're a coach, your customer niche can be a little tighter. And you don't have to capture the health food eating Californian and the value driven Midwesterner.
Sure.
You can be very specific, which is great.
And absolutely. And like you said, I think especially for coaches, and when it comes to branding, you really want to think about what is that one word, what is that phrase that you want to, plant your flag on. Just like the big brands, have specific words, where you talk about Apple and innovation, or Volvo and safety. Personal brands and coaches also need that word. So find out, that's what the initial stage of personal branding is about, is find out what that word or even that short phrase is that represents you, and then make sure that you live that each and every day, and that even your visual branding lives that in your logos and your colors and the way you, in your copy and your messaging, and even in the way you dress and the way you carry yourself day to day. Branding is definitely that full 360 type of experience. So you can't do one side of, act one way in one area of your life or your business, and then completely do a 180 and act differently in another way. Because as a coach, that's going to come back and bite you, because someone will see that other side of you. Maybe you have a business Facebook page and you're inspiring, and you have all these positive things to say. And then someone may go to your personal Facebook page and see that maybe you're negative, or you have bad things to say about, certain things. That's going to affect you. So you need to make sure your brand and your personal brand is consistent throughout everything you do.
Definitely can appreciate that, because that's the last thing you want, is to have some negative little piece that destroys your brand.
Correct. And it can destroy you. Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe we can talk about kind of what the process looks like for you, because when someone's starting out with coaching, it sounds like ideally branding would be the first thing you do, and then you build your business and your website and whatnot around that.
Right.
But I'm guessing a lot more, it has, things work the way kind of I've been doing things, is, iterative and, kind of being like, oh yeah, well, this is my customers different than what I thought. Because I think if I would have gone through a big branding and advertising effort, right, 2 years ago, as I was starting my company, I would have a very different company. So how does that fit in, and how do you work with coaches?
Well, so just like you said, branding is a process. You have to approach it that way. There's so many people, you included, and you admitted, rightly so, that hey, I kind of jumped the gun, and maybe I put the cart before the horse in some areas. Maybe I developed a logo before I knew some of these other things. I approach it as a process, just like when I worked, with companies. You really work the same way on a different level, but it's fairly similar to companies when you work with coaches. So the first thing, like we mentioned, is find out about the internal wiring of that coach. So there is a personality test that I go through, an assessment test that I work with coaches on, and that's in the very first phase of when I work with somebody. They go through a short questionnaire, so I kind of have a broad understanding of where they are in their business, their struggles, their challenges, and then also where they want to be in their business, a year from now, 5 years from now. But then we go into a personality assessment. It's a very short, probably 5-minute online assessment. But in the end, you get a 16-page report that breaks down all of your personality traits, and it gives you, your strengths, your top strengths, your second top strength that you can carry with you. And then it also talks briefly about your weaknesses. And weaknesses, at least the way I approach it and the way this assessment approaches it, is you don't really focus on your weaknesses, but you just understand them and you kind of say, okay, I know that's a weakness of mine. Let's put it over here. Let's address my strengths, because that's where you're going to be able to make inroads. So maybe, you find out you're really good at leading people, but you find out you're not good at being a listener, or something like that. Okay, that's great. So then you know that when you work with clients, you're going to be very proactive, and you tell that client, hey, I talk a lot. So get a pen, get a piece of paper. There's going to be a lot of notes. So start taking notes, because that's who I am, and you embrace it. So that's one of the first stages of the branding process. Then you go into your audience. Obviously, if you don't know your audience, or you think you know your audience and you're wrong, you're spinning your wheels. So, you really have to dive deep into understanding who your audience is. What is that pain point that they have? And then also, what kind of solution are they looking for in that pain point? As a video coach, maybe somebody says, I don't know how to do video, but I think that answer for you, you need to know more as well. And I'm sure you dive much deeper when someone says that to you. Okay, well, what don't you understand? Do you need help with the technology? Do you need help with the scripting? Do you need help with lighting and things like that? So you have to dive deep into what that pain is, and then the solution that they're looking for, so that then you can craft, your programs and your services to help them. And then lastly, kind of in that first string, in that first stage, there is understanding your strategy as a coach. And one of the things that I do in my program is we go through an exercise called the Blue Ocean Strategy. It's a very popular book from a few years ago. It can be very confusing, but since I like to simplify things, I approach it in a very simplified manner. And you really look at kind of the playing field of the competitors around you. So really, as a coach, you have, tons and tons of competition out in the market. So you really need to know, what are these coaches doing? How are they getting their clients? What phrases, what words are they planting their flag on? And then how can the way I like to say it too is, if they're zigging in one direction, how can I zag as a coach, so that I'm not just, piggybacking on what these other coaches are doing and trying to get their crumbs in a way. I need to zag so that I stick out and really attract, these other people who are looking for something different. They're not looking for what this coach is giving. They're looking for something that I'm giving. So you go through a very simple exercise, and you really just plug in on like an axis on a chart, your opportunity in the marketplace. So then okay, I understand my personal brand and my strengths and my weaknesses. I understand my audience now and how I can serve them. And now I understand my strategy on how I can do something differently in the market to attract my clients. And whether that's, developing a course, whether that's developing online programs or services that are different from others, it's wide open at that point. But you really need to find out what you can do differently if you want to stand out and really separate yourself from your competitors.
Great. I love that process, because it's good to go through.
I noticed I didn't even talk about visual branding yet.
Right.
I haven't even talked about logos, colors, a website. I haven't even talked about any of that stuff yet, because in my process and the way I work with clients, that doesn't happen until you have a good foundation and understanding of all those other areas first. So for the coaches out there, and I know it's very common for coaches to want to dive in and start developing a logo, or sometimes they even start even further past that and they start developing a website. And that's way down the road from where you need to start when it comes to branding.
Yeah. And I think, it's so hard to know where to start with this stuff. And I think, kind of, there's so many places to start. And I like the idea of suggesting that people start with a one-page website, just so they have kind of like,
Absolutely.
This is me. and this is who I am, just so you have your email and your phone number available to the rest of the world, because Google,
Absolutely.
That's where people expect to find you, but you don't necessarily have to have that brand and that product, and as you're figuring out who you appeal to and who you are, it's a process. So as someone goes through that process with you, kind of what is the end result, or maybe there are middle results to say, we have boiled down to the one word that describes you, and then you hand that off to a graphic designer or a website designer and say, my site needs to be X.
Exactly.
How does that work?
So as you mentioned, and I do have what I refer to as my system that I go about branding someone and a coach. So I have 9 kind of building blocks that I work through with my coaches. I just mentioned the 3. Understanding your personality, understanding your audience, and understanding your strategy. The next 3 and the next 6 blocks, at least the way I work with clients, is then you take them through. Then you start to evolve into the creative aspects of things. So you start to develop a mood board based on the things that you've learned about yourself and your competition and your audience. So you start putting the pieces together. What are those visuals? What are those photos? What are those kind of textures? What are those colors and fonts and typography? Things that you start to feel like you based on what you're learning about yourself. And then that mood board then evolves. Then you get into kind of the fun part. That's where you start developing the logo. That's when you develop your colors. That's when you develop your textures and patterns, and you start to define that visual brand, because that's when you really start bringing your brand to life. And as a coach, this is where, a lot of people get excited about that initial phase 2, and they learn about the personality and their strengths. And then they also get very, very excited once you see your brand start coming to life, a physical, visual way. Just like I know you're working on your rebrand and your CoachFocused brand. And I think you start to light up when you see your new logo and things start to click for you. So, a lot of people, when they think brand, they think logo, because that's what they get excited about.
Yep.
But that's kind of in the middle of the process. And then after that logo is developed, and I work with very talented designers for my clients, that helps, bring that visual medium to life based on what we're learning about the coach and who they're trying to reach. And then from that visual branding, then you go into social media. So obviously social media for coaches is huge. No matter what kind of coach you are, you want to make sure that, your Facebook graphics and headers, your Twitter headers, your LinkedIn, whatever social media you are targeting to reach your audience, you want to make sure all of those pieces are consistent throughout. So you could still have a different message for Facebook than you do for Twitter. Maybe Facebook, you're promoting a private Facebook group that you want others to join. And maybe on Twitter, you're promoting your some type of lead magnet, how to use Twitter for coaches sort of thing. So you can have that, but visually, you need to make sure it's still consistent. You want to make sure that the combination is still consistent when people hop around to your various social media channels. So that's the next kind of 6 building blocks. And then quickly to finalize, kind of answer your question there, the last 3 that I take my clients through are to develop a lead magnet, because that's obviously very important when you're a coach. You need to make sure that you are able to start gathering email addresses as quickly as possible. The next phase is to develop an opt-in page. Like you mentioned, that can be a very simple 1-page piece. And then lastly, that 9th building block is building and launching your own website. So it's really an A to Z type of process that I take my clients through. And it's one of those where coaches aren't confused. Well, where do I go now? What's the next step? What's the next step? It's laid out in front of them, and they understand there's a logical order, so that there is no overwhelm, and they understand that it's a process and things roll out as they become more aware of their internal brand.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's almost a lot of the same process that you would get when developing your business. So I'm going to go back to my coach and I were having a discussion today, and we're in the beginning of the coaching relationship, and so he was asking questions about what's your ideal customer avatar, and I'm like, oh, I did that exercise, boom, 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 boom. This is my ideal customer avatar. And what do you want? Where do you want your life to be in 5 years? Boom, 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 boom. I had all that stuff. And then he got into like, what are the emotions that represents? And I'm like, oh, I haven't thought about that. So it's interesting. It
Gotcha.
seems like a lot of these things with the branding exercises that you go through, they're probably the same exercises that people have gone through. Some of them that are kind of beginning of business exercise, because you go through, you're like, well, what do you want? Who are you?
Absolutely.
In which case you could almost fast track that part of the branding exercise because you already know all those answers. Or what you learn in the branding exercise, you can then apply to kind of, building your business. Cause it's like, oh yeah, this is, as I developed my brand, I had to find my ideal customer is this. So now I need to, work towards that. So it seems like it works actually pretty well together with the beginning of the business process.
Absolutely. And that's no coincidence that maybe the way your coach works, with you, a branding coach similarly works with someone else, because that is a process. And those are big, important questions that you need to ask. So yeah, like you said, there's different combinations of those questions. Maybe I go deeper in certain areas or have a different approach, but it's those questions that are critical in order for you to build a solid foundation for your business moving forward.
Yes. So how would you describe your brand? I'm going to put you on the spot. So it's like one of those cobbler's children have no shoes thing. Hopefully you've got a good brand going on right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I have my overarching brand is Jeff Carter Personal Branding. And I developed that as very, it's very personal. So I wanted to put personal branding in there because I'm very much a one-to-one type of person where I feel more passion and I feel more alive when I'm working with people face to face, or, like this, where I can work with them as opposed to working with companies where you're working with, a corporate shield type of thing. So my Jeff Carter Personal Branding is very personal, and that's the way I like it. I also have a sub brand, which is simply Brand You, which is my course. It's a course for coaches that takes them through those 9 building blocks that we talked about. And my brand, it's an extension of my Jeff Carter Personal Branding brand, but the kind of my flag there that I've planted is simplicity. I want to make things simple. I want to make things very easy to understand. So, my brand is about being personal. It's about simplifying things, and it's really about serving people. So it's a very personal thing with me. And just like branding, everything's about the know, like, and trust factor. So everything I do, I want to make sure that I'm moving that forward, that know, like, and trust factor, so that whether it is video that I'm doing or developing blog posts or developing a course, I want to make sure that I'm talking directly to the coaches on a one-to-one level and addressing their needs. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And actually I saw Chris Beltran joined us, and his name here it's Chris Beltran. I love that idea. And I think, especially with people who are coaches, and I feel like this is the way the economy is moving, that small businesses and solopreneurs, really this is the way the world is changing and evolving. It's getting easier to work on your own, but it is about you.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of that out there. And that was one of the things. I got a lot of feedback on my logo, which is kind of like a little subline that says with Brighton West, that people like, you really need that to pop more, because it needs to be Brighton West. So I like Jeff brands you. That's getting that there's a person behind this is very appealing to people these days, I think. Whereas 20 years ago, it might have been really appealing to be like, well, I got my computer from IBM. It's like the biggest company. Now it's like, well, no, I got, my meal was cooked by the most artisan, I know the farmer and whatnot.
It's very personal. Right. Yeah. It's very personal. Absolutely.
Personal and stories. And especially as we're getting, the millennials seem to really like that. They like technology. They don't like stuff so much. They're not into buying a lot of stuff. They want experience. And so I think coaching is going to become more valuable, and that they're going to want someone who they feel understands them. And that's
exactly. And I mean, we're here to talk about video. You're the video expert. And aside from face-to-face, meeting somebody and actually shaking their hands, video, I think, is the second best thing to do to develop that know, like, and trust factor. And so many coaches they're scared of video. Even you, Brighton, you admitted that you were scared of video in the beginning, and you're a video expert now. You had said you felt more comfortable behind the camera, which is great because you're being honest. You're putting it out there. Hey guys, I was scared of the camera too at one point. And now look at you. You're doing blabs all the time on a weekly basis. You're doing videos. You're putting stuff up on YouTube on a daily and weekly basis. So when it comes to coaching and branding, video is your opportunity right now to really step out of the shadows and shine. So I'm excited that you are, you're stepping forward in your business with video, but you're also encouraging coaches specifically to step forward in their business because now is the time. If you don't jump on this train, there's so many coaches out there now doing it. If you're not doing video, you're going to be in the shadows and you're going to be left behind.
Definitely. And I feel like video is such a great match for personal brands. It's a great match also probably for Coca-Cola and whatnot. Those guys have been doing, advertising forever. But the way video is working, the fact that, we are just on our computers here and, just have a webcam up and a headset and we're able to use this technology for free is, it's the world has evolved to the point where the technology and, the way people are working, it's really favoring individuals. So video is great at getting the personality of that one person across. If you've got a big coaching practice or something, having the CEO, talk on video is not as valuable as having the individual coach, represent their brand online.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to, what are some of the struggles you hear when you work with coaches when it comes to video? Is it the first thing? Is it technology? Is it, are they scared? Is there kind of self-doubt that they don't feel comfortable in front of the camera? What do you hear from your clients?
Yeah, there's definitely that comfort in front of the camera. It's all over the place, really. And I just want to recognize here, I think that was Tim said online learning offers some incredible branding opportunities as well, which is true. That's you can be, I think, being an author and representing your brand that way, but e-learning is a great way to get yourself out there and make sure, like you said earlier, that it all matches. And Jeff and I, before we started today, we were just chatting about Mark Mowini has a big natural born coaches sign behind him. And I was saying that, once I get my brand set, I want to invest in something so that it's always there in the background. But in terms of me, I think it's that confidence that people don't want to appear less than perfect. And it's a little easier. Like when you're when you go in with a photographer, you get to take, a heck of a lot of pictures and pick the best one. But with a video, it's a little more authentic. And so people get worried about that. And I'm working with people to try to get over that. And I think the best way to get over it is to do it. It's kind of like public speaking.
I agree.
A way like this, where it's not, there's not 100,000 people in this audience, and it builds up confidence, and you get to, we can go back and watch this if we want and see how it goes. But and the technology is all there. Go ahead.
Yeah, you approach it step by step as well. Just like you said, just do it. And whether it's just do it. Typically, you're not going to do your first video, and launch it to hundreds of thousands of people, like you said. Maybe, the advice to coaches is always, just shoot the video, whatever you do with it. Shoot the video. And the first step is to put it on your hard drive, put it on your computer. That's all you have to do. It can be 2 minutes, it can be 5 minutes, whatever. Maybe the next step is you shoot the video and you put it on a private YouTube channel and no one sees it. So you've conquered that second step where, hey, I shot a video and I put it online. Nobody can see it, but I put it online. I feel good about that. Maybe the next step is put it into a private Facebook group that you're a member of and say, hey guys, I shot a video today. Let me know what you think. It's those baby steps that gets your brand slowly out there, and you can evolve that brand as you move forward. And as you expose it to more and more people, you feel more comfortable, and your message starts to resonate, not only with yourself, but also with other people. And then that encourages you to want to hit that record button even more. So just take it step by step and slowly, and take the pressure off yourself as much as possible. But do it. You probably see this a lot. I see so many coaches now. They're in their car. They're in their car with their cell phone and they're doing a little selfie And it's just like a 1 minute kind of motivational video or something. Hey guys, I just pulled off the side of the road because I was thinking about this, and maybe I was working with a client and I learned this about my coaching practice, or something I learned on how to improve my coaching process. And they just do a quick little video. That's huge. It doesn't have to be some monumental professional type of setup. And Brighton, you're the one that got me onto the selfie stick. I think you did a video a while back and you had a selfie stick. And I'm thinking, because, sometimes I shoot video with my phone and you want that production value to be good. So, it's as simple as getting a selfie stick and just start shooting things. Just the simple things. It can be so easy, but yet so effective for your brand. Yeah. And actually, that's one thing that I was just thinking about as we were talking about this is one of the powers, the superpower of YouTube is it's a long-term thing. So with YouTube, you make one video and then you make your second video and you have 2 videos, and then you make your third video and you have 3 videos. Whereas with like Facebook, you have your first video and then that goes away, and then you have your second video and then that goes away and you have the third video. But you do have this brand evolution problem in that, the videos that I put out a couple of years ago are branded pretty heavily Subscriber Nation because I was approaching a different audience, and YouTube does not allow you to edit those videos. You can take it down and put it back up, but you lose all the power behind that video. For instance, right now I've got a video that's how to make a YouTube channel trailer. And it's the #1 ranked for that term. And I get a lot of traffic on that. And that's great for me, but it's branded Subscriber Nation. And I'm trying, and there's some things that are, YouTube's changed. So it's definitely a little challenge in terms of being able to update your branding on something that exists, long tail, I guess, for a long time. Sure. Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know if you have any thoughts about like with that brand evolution, or if there's if there's best practices in brand evolution. You're like, oh, well, just keep the colors the same, but change the name or anything like that. Just kind of as things change, because big brands do that too. They change over time. Sure, absolutely. I think if it's a slow evolution, then that's fine. I think a massive evolution is going to kind of plant a seed in people that maybe you're not sure what you're doing, but that's okay. Sometimes you want to make sure that evolution just continues to build on the direction that you had already started to establish. So I don't know much about the YouTube channel that you mentioned, but is it something that obviously probably generates a lot of traffic for you, so you don't want it to go away? But I think if you do, you want to make sure that maybe you craft it a little more so to blend and be consistent with the direction you are going now. Right, exactly. I think that blending is key. And it's just, and a lot of things are changing with evolution. The length of my hair is changing slightly, so things change. Longer or shorter? It's gotten a little shorter, and now it's getting longer from the top. So it kind of there you go. You still got a lot of it. That's good. Yep, exactly. So, yeah, well, actually, we're coming up on our 40 minutes now, and I wanted to give you a chance to kind of, give us a little wrap up, a little shout out for your business, how people, you said you have a course that people can take in branding, or how they can find your newsletter. And maybe you can, pop that in there if you type your website address, or if you've got a, a form or something, a lead magnet. Feel free to pop that in there. Absolutely. So I just popped it in there. It's my website is jeffcarter.me. And yeah, as you mentioned, Brighton, I do have a course. It's called Simply Brand You, and it's a course that I launched. My first launch was in February. So I have a group of students going through the course now. It's completely 100% online course, kind of self-paced, but I'm also there with you every step of the way. And it takes you through all 9 of those building blocks and how to design, develop, and launch your brand to the world. So that's going to be opening up again for open enrollment in, as of now, probably mid-May. So, anyone who's interested in that, they can go to either jeffcarter.me, my website there, read some blog posts, check out some videos, or you can also go to simplybrandyou.com. I'll put that in the chat too, and just sign up for the waiting list. Like I said, that will be launching again in May. So get on the list now for, either early enrollment. There'll be some special discounts, all kinds of fun things leading up to the launch. So I'm very excited, and I have a lot of coaches, making great progress on their businesses, developing their brands.
And it's really exciting to see these coaches, blossom and bring their brands and their personal brands to life, and growing their coaching businesses in such a confident way. For coaches, that's what it's all about. You need that foundation of confidence. And when a coach is able to develop a brand that they really feel represents them, it builds that confidence in a way that, there's no stopping them. They feel so empowered when they have a solid brand, and they just, they live it and they shine it every day. So I'm excited about that, and I'll put in Simply Brand You in the chat here real quick too.
Cool. Yeah, and I'm trying to pull that over and get it up on the screen, but it doesn't want to go there. Let's see here. If I hit, yeah, it's interesting. They keep changing how Blab works. But
okay. So right now, simplybrandyou.com is just a holding page with a sign up because right now the course is closed for current enrollees, but it's just a sign up form. But it will be opening up again here in mid-May. So yeah, I'm excited to welcome some new coaches to the program.
Cool. Awesome. Great. Well, thank you so much. And actually, I'm gonna pop my website up there too. Let's see here. So authenticwestfilms.com. I've got some lead magnets there. I don't have a group a coaching session or anything like that coming up, but there's some nice lead magnets there about lists of how to do best on YouTube, or how to, an equipment list if you're looking to start using online video, kind of from the basic of just your webcam all the way up to your DSLR and whatnot. So if you're on here and you're interested in those things, head on over to the website, trade your email address for that information. I also have a how to look great on video. Email me if you want that one, because I don't have that one up on the site right now.
That's all good stuff. I'm going to sign up for all those.
There we go. Perfect. I will send them over. Great. Well, I want to thank Jeff for this. This has been a great session. I feel like I understand branding a lot better. I think, we've got some good feedback from the audience here, and it's a great for me to understand that process that you take people through. And I think, this recording will be available for other folks. So you feel free to share this with other people and let them know it's out there. If they're a coach who's, just starting out, or maybe maybe they've been going for a while and gotten a little stale. I mean, that's quite frankly, things do need to be refreshed. Absolutely. And I think, especially if you're a coach that's been doing this for a long time, you might never have done the branding exercise in the beginning. You might have just said, okay, well, 20 years ago, I need to do this, and never really figured out how your self-expression is coming out in your brand.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah.
Some great opportunities there. So, but other than that, I want, so Albert says he needs branding help, but am not a coach. So direction, do you work with folks who are outside of the coaching niche?
I do. Absolutely. My specialty is really working with people one-to-one. I do work with companies still as well. So yeah, I mean, I can work with accountants. I can work with masseuses. I could work with, hairstylists. My wife is a makeup artist. I did her branding for her. So it's not just coaches. I focus on coaches just because it's a great group of people that I want to help, but I'm also open to helping anyone that really services, the public on a one-to-one basis. So absolutely, I'm happy to help. Just shoot me an email, get on my website, shoot me an email, and I love to chat with you.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Albert. Yeah, I think that'd be helpful. Albert's got a number of different kind of brands going on in his life. So really helpful guy. I'm actually doing some trainings with Albert out on the coast of Oregon coming up in May. Albert does email marketing. Awesome. Amongst other things. So, well, once again, I want to wrap this up. So thank you all for watching here today. I see we just had someone join as we're wrapping up. So feel free to head on back and watch this again. It should be available momentarily, but great conversation about branding, specifically for coaches or people where personal brand really matters to their business. And I will be back next week. I've got another videographer on. That's Michelle White-Hart. Met her down in LA, and she is a videographer that specializes in working with highly sensitive people. So that's going to be an interesting conversation. I'm not sure, there's probably coaches out there. Most coaches are kind of that energetic and out, out there. Whoa. But there's definitely some that are a little more mellow and maybe are highly sensitive people and how they can work best with video. So awesome. Once again, thank you, Jeff. And
thanks, Brian.
I'm sure we will keep chatting over Facebook.
That sounds great. I'll see you soon.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.